Perek Shmini, B'siyata Dishmaya. God willing, we'll start beginning of the Perek, which is 103b, and mainly today will be at page 104. Our Torah repeats 3 times the prohibition against mixing milk and meat. Lo tevashel gdi b'chalel v'imo. It said twice in Shmot in Exodus 23 and 34. Said in Dvarim in Deuteronomy chapter 14. The sages explain that each time it's repeated, it has a different meaning. In Exodus 23, it involved the prohibition of cooking milk and meat together. Exodus 34 explained the prohibition of eating milk and meat together. So the first one is cooking, the second one is eating, and the third one in Dvarim in Deuteronomy, it refers to a prohibition against receiving the benefit for mixing milk and meat together. Since we have a variety of people who watch us and we get all different questions, I would like to expand for our viewership a little bit about the prohibition against eating milk and meat together. At the beginning of the creation, which we call the Bereshit, it was forbidden to slaughter animal for food. Man ate vegetables, ate fruits, ate herbs. Only after the flood, as the Rabbi tells us, when the vegetation was destroyed, did the Almighty permit human to feed upon animals in order to prevent starvation. However, the act of slaughtering animals itself is an act of cruelty. So God placed limit on slaughter. The killing of an animal for sport is prohibited. It must be for sustenance. The Almighty further limited the species which are permissible for consumption. The slaughter must be accomplished in such a way that the animal experiences as in a Shechita as little pain as possible. Through these limitations, God elevated eating to a spiritual level for mankind. So the Rav Samson Raphael Hirsch explained that meat represents the life of the animal and milk represents the ability to reproduce the life of the animal, and this is the idea of animals' function to eat and reproduce. God created man with many more functions, so separating man and animals put in a way godliness into all man's activities. And the Oznaim Torah add to that, and he said that the milk comes from an animal, so the mixing of milk and meat together is considered a double act of cruelty. So by creating man and animals, the Almighty has shown us that in a way God is the master of the universe, and He gave humans the power to control in our language certain things, but also the Almighty prescribed limit to these things. So one of these limits is mixing milk and meat. And in fact, the simple act of mixing the two together with no intent to cook or consume the mix is equally forbidden. The Rambam explained that this Torah prohibition against mixing milk and meat exists because idol worshippers that did it. But most of the rabbis said that the term "you should not let you should not cook a kid with its mother milk," it means specifically that the kid it's in a way is not necessarily just a young goat. It also include cow, lamb, or ox. His mother's milk is not only for his own mother, but it's also milk from any kosher animal. So that's the concept. Now, the occupation of this chapter is the understanding of these 3 prohibitions against One is bishul, it's cooking, one is eating, and the third one is driving benefit. So then, cold milk and meat is rabbinic, is not biblical. Mishnah הקדושה, כל הבשר אסור לבשל בחלב. So the Mishnah tells us that all type of meat, and again, all type of meat by definition can be any. It can be domesticated animal, undomesticated animals, and bird, regardless if it's consecrated or not. אסור לבשל בחלב. So you see the word לבשל. So we're not allowed to cook with milk, cook meat with milk. Now, even the Torah used the word gdi, but as we said, it's applied to all the others. Chutz mibsar dagim v'chagavim, excluding the fish, meat of a fish, and grasshoppers, whose halachic status is not that of a meat, neither d'oraita, neither biblical nor rabbanan. Dag bechalav, fish with milk, it's kind of dangerous, but there are those who allow dag bechem'ah, but not begvina. Anyway, ואסור להעלות עם הגבינה על השולחן חוץ מבשר דגים וחגבים. So you're not allowed to place any meat together with milk produce, which means cheese on one table. The reason for this prohibition is that one might come to eat them after they absorb sustances from the other. So the prohibition applies to all type of meat, except for the meat of fish and grasshoppers. So the Rosh Hashanah, Maram Shif, and many others said that it can open the door to mix. Rashi and Tosfot said that this applied not only in Eretz Yisrael but also outside of Eretz Yisrael. One may think that because it's written in the Torah next to Bikurim, in Deuteronomy next to the mitzvah of first fruits, so may think that it's only Eretz Yisrael. But anyway, the Tosfot explain that because the first part talk about basar, so that's to exclude the except for the meat of fish and grasshopper. Page 104. הנודר מן הבשר מותר בבשר דגים וחגבים. If one takes a vow that meat is prohibited to him, he is permitted to eat meat of fish and grasshoppers. So Rashi said it's not under definition, Leshon Bnei Adam, it's not in definition of meat. Tosfot, later you see Rabbi Akiva, they struggle with that. But anyway, ha'of asur midoraita. So because the Mishnah does not distinguish between the meat of animal or of the bird, so it consequently be inferred to the meat of bird cooked in milk is prohibited by Torah law, just like the meat of animals. So the Rabbi Akiva Iger bring the Rambam and Tur, Shulchan Aruch and others that the domesticated animal and bird, it's only rabbinic, that you cannot eat it but you can cook it anyway. Keman דלא כרבי עקיבא, די רבי עקיבא, האמר, that's in Mishnah page 113, Rabbi Akiva said, חייב העוף אינו מן התורה. Rabbi Akiva said that undomesticated animals and bird cooked in milk is not by Torah law. So the Ema Seifa, look at the last clause of the Mishnah, that apparently, ostensibly, it's follow Rabbi Akiva's view. הנודר מן הבשר מותר בבשר דגים וחגבים. One who makes this vow take a vow that meat is prohibited to him, is permitted to eat the meat of fish and grasshoppers. Ha'of asur. So you derive from that the bird is prohibited. Atan l'Rabbi Akiva damar kol midimim lachalei shaliach bar minehu. So if you go by the Rabbi Akiva who said that anything about which an agent sent to purchase a given item will inquire, being unsure whether it qualified as that type of item, is considered its type. Ditnan, or the Tanya, that's in the Mishnah Nedarim, page 54. Hanoder min hayerek mutar bidlu'in. One who takes a vow that vegetables are forbidden to him is permitted to eat gourds, because people not typically consider gourds as type of vegetables. Rabbi Akiva oser, Rabbi Akiva prohibited, because he holds that gourd is also considered a vegetable. אמרו לו, the sages said, Rabbi Akiva, אבל לא אומר אדם לשלוחו, קח לנו ירק. Person said to his agent, go and purchase vegetable for us. And the agent, after failing to find vegetables, returned and said, והוא אומר, לא מצאתי לדלוין, I only found the gourd. אמר להן, רבי עקיבא said, כן הדבר, you're right. כלומר, אומר, לא מצאתי אלא קטנית. So, what did he say? That I found only legumes. So אלא שדלויים בכלל ירק, ואין קטנית בכלל ירק. So you have to say that the gourds are included in the category of vegetables, but legumes are not included in the category of vegetables, and that is why an agent will not even ask about them. So what you see here, that Rabbi Akiva will also hold that one who takes a vow that meat is forbidden to him is prohibited from eating birds. So Gemara said, Reisha Rabbanan v'Sefer Rabbi Akiva. The first clause follow the sages who disagree with Rabbi Akiva, and that's the later clause follow Rabbi Akiva. So Amar Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Hi. The Mishnah follow Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, v'Nasiv lei Aliba detnai follow the halacha according to two Tanaim. Bin darim savar Rabbi Akiva, that the bird is part of the meat. Bebasar v'chalav savar Rabbi Rabbanan, that the prohibition of a bird with milk is biblical, unlike Rabbi Akiva. Another option, Rav Ashi Amar, Kula, the entire Mishnah Rabbi Akiva היא, והחק אמר, כל הבשר אסור לבשל בחלב. All it is prohibited to cook any meat cooked in milk, מהם מדברי תורה, like animals meat, ומהם מדברי סופרים, like meat of a bird and undomesticated animal, חוץ מבשר דגים וחגבים שאינם לא מדברי תורה ולא מדברי סופרים, excluding the fish and grasshoppers, which are not prohibited neither by Torah law nor by rabbinic law. The next part of the Mishnah, ve'asu leha'alot. So the Mishnah said it's prohibited to place any meat with cheese on one table. אמר רב יוסף שמע מינה בשר עוף בחלב דאורייתא. You derive from that meat of a bird's cooked in milk is prohibited by Torah law. If you tell me it's only rabbinic, אכילה גופה גזירה, וענן נגזור העלאה עטו אכילה. So he said that the only consumption itself is rabbinic decree, and would we decree against placing birds together with a cheese on the table due to the possibility of consumption, which itself a decree? The sages do not enact one decree to prevent the violation of another decree. So the Gemara asked, Umenat teimra delo gazer gzera legzera. Where is the source that we do not issue one rabbinic decree to prevent violation of another rabbinic decree. So the truth is, in Shabbat 11, you see it in Yomai 11, Yevamot 21, you see several times, Anu nikom gzera legzera. So the Meirin, the Ritva, Tosfot have malach in this, but anyway, the Tanya, Detnan. This is the Mishnah in Tractate Chala, chapter 4, Mishnah 8, Chalat chutza la'aretz. Chala from outside of Eretz Yisrael, which must be eaten by a Kohen. So the Torah said, V'chol zar lo yochal kodesh. So the page 104b, נאכלת עם הזר על השולחן, וניתנת לכל כהן שירצה. May be eaten with a non-Kohen present at the same table, meaning our rabbis did not issue a decree prohibiting the non-Kohen partake of the challah, as the separation of challah outside of Eretz Yisrael itself is a rabbinic decree. So this proves that the sages do not issue one decree to prevent violation of another decree. And similarly, v'nitenet lechol kohen shirtze is giving to any kohen that one wishes, even an uneducated kohen who will not guard its state of ritual purity. So that's basically the opposite of to challah from Eretz Yisrael, which may be given only to kohen who observe the halachot of ritual purity. אמר לאביי, בישלמה ישמועינן חלת חוצה לארץ בארץ, דאיכא למגזר משום חלת הארץ דאורייתא ולא גזרינן, איכא למשמע מינה. So there will be ground to learn from this Mishnah that the sages do not issue one decree to prevent violation of another decree. אלא חוצה לארץ, but outside of Eretz Yisrael that remains there, משום דאיכא למגזר הוא, because there is no reason to decree, since by Torah law the obligation of challah does not apply outside of Eretz Yisrael, there is no chance that such behavior will lead to transgression of Torah law. But there, if you allow to do a bird, place a bird and cheese on the same table, some might come to conclusion, may eat this meat cooked with milk, and there will be a violation of Torah law. So the Gemara said, Matkifla Rav Sheshet object to this premise of Rav Yosef inference, and he said even if one were to posit that the meat of birds in milk is prohibited by Torah law, ultimately soft tzonen betzonen, it's cold food with another cold food. So as the whole consumption, as we said earlier, is prohibited by rabbinic law. אמר רבי גזירה שמא יעלה באילפס רותח. So that's bishul. One places the meat with cheese in a boiling stew pot, which is a manner of cooking and therefore prohibited by Torah law. Sof, the Gemara said, ultimately, even a stew pot is only kli shenihu, a secondary vessel, not the vessel that was on a fire. Uchli sheni eino mevashel, the secondary vessel does not cook. Rather, el gzera shemayale beilpas rishon. That is a rabbinic decree, lest one place the meat, which is in a stew pot, that is primary vessel, which is that it was on a fire. So this is certainly cooking milk in meat in milk, and it's prohibited by Torah law. So after the previous Mishnah said that you cannot put on the table the meat of a bird with the cheese, now the Mishnah expand of this disputation between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. The Mishnah Kedosha said, העוף עולה עם הגבינה לשולחן, ואינו נאכל דברי בית שמאי, ובית הלל אומרים לא עולה ולא נאכל. The meat of birds may be placed with cheese on one table, but may not be eaten together with it. That's basically the statement of Beit Shammai. Beit Hillel אומרים, Beit Hillel hold that it may neither be placed on the table nor be eaten with cheese. Amar Rabbi Yossi said these disputations involve leniency. Zo mikulei Beit Shammai mechumrei Beit Hillel. This is one of the places that Beit Shammai is lenient and Beit Hillel is stringent. Be'ezeh shulchan amru? The Mishnah now expand on that and said, with regard to which table are these halachot? B'shulchan she'ochel alav, the table upon which one eats. Aval b'shulchan she'soder alav et hatavshil. However, on a table upon which one prepares the cooked food, noten ze betzad ze ve'no choshesh. One may place this meat alongside with cheese, or vice versa, and need not to be concerned that perhaps they will be mixed with, and one will come to eat them together. So the Gemara challenged what Rabbi Yossi said in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi hainu tanakama. Rabbi Yossi is identical to that with the first Tana. If you tell me that they eating itself, the first Tana says that Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel disagree with regard to placing meat of bird with cheese on one table. So when it's come to eating, they do not disagree. Rabbi Yossi said in response to this that they also disagree with regard to the eating meat of bird in milk. That's leniency of Beit Shammai and stringency of Beit Hillel. One can refute this claim.